as we all know, this is my new vehicle. It has been in the garage of my dad's house. He's been taking care of it. You know, as far as putting in the Jeep seats, getting the stereo to work, getting the gear shifter all figured out. And what's funny is, for me, I remember back, so today's my 38th birthday, but I remember back when I was 15 and we were looking to get my first car, and I wanted to, really ultimately what I wanted was a Bronco 2. That's the kind of car we had growing up when I was a kid, and I liked it. I liked this kind of smaller, rugged SUV, and I think at the time you were hoping that I would want a Mustang to fix up a Mustang.
Yeah.
But you know, for me, I just never was into sports cars, like to that degree. Like for me, I wanted something simpler. And it's funny because this is the third SUV for me to own. First one being was it an 88 Bronco 2, the white one that we lowered actually, because we wanted to make sure it was safe, so we lowered it. And then my Honda Element, which I've had for 13 years, and now upgrading to the Jeep Wrangler. So I like this idea of these smaller yet rugged, versatile SUVs. As far as sports cars, not really my thing. Trucks, I love the Tacoma, but it's just not practical for my life. I don't need a truck. It's cool, but I don't need it. But for me, I've always just been drawn to these type of SUVs, but this is the highest status you can get to when it comes to small, rugged SUVs. But we've never talked about Jeep Wranglers my whole life. Like, that's always been something I've carried with me. I always wanted one, and my wife has really always been privy to the idea. But how have you felt about Jeep Wranglers before this has been in your garage the last 2 weeks you've been taking care of it?
I never really cared for Jeeps. I never saw it, you know, it was not something I was really interested in, you know, the Jeep, the ruggedness. I was like, you know, like you said, more into the sports cars and stuff like that, so.
And if you haven't seen the video, my dad has the 63 Falcon Fortura and also the MG that he's working on. So yeah, I mean, that was something that mattered to him. And of course, he drives the truck, but just, so basically, it's not that you didn't like Jeeps, it's just you didn't think about it, you didn't care, it didn't register on your radar.
Right, yeah.
But I'm understanding, since you've been working on it the last 2 weeks, there's been somewhat of a change in opinion?
Yeah. I mean, I've driven it for the last 2 weeks, I guess. Basically driven it to work, you know, working on this and that on it and trying to get things fixed up. And at first, you know, I didn't like it. I didn't like the way it handled, you know, I didn't like the shift pattern with the 6-speed and all that. But I think it kind of grew on me, you know, when you realize, well, there's the Jeep family, you know, you got the Jeep Wave, and everybody's, you know, excited. Other Jeep people are excited because you got a Jeep too, you know, so it's been fun. But yeah, my opinion has changed to the better for Jeeps.
Yeah, I think it's just somewhat of a paradox too of people who like Jeep Wranglers. They like them because they are simple and rugged, but at the same time, you recognize that they're not necessarily practical either.
Right.
If I wanted to get something better on gas mileage, then I wouldn't be getting this. If I wanted something that was more practical, even for the kids, because I'm going to be I take my kids to school every morning, and I'm not worried about it. But compared to my Element, which is 4 doors, I mean, I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to have this seat pushed up, and then I'm going to be getting my daughter out of her car seat like this, and then when it's time to drop off my son, he'll be jumping. So basically, I'm just going to keep that seat up like that during the week, basically. And then on the weekend, when my wife's riding, we'll push the seat back. But it's like, I understand that's not the most practical thing, but it doesn't bother me. And people have also said too about the sound, but the sound not being quiet enough. I mean, granted, mine's the hard top, so that definitely helps. And I know that they've improved them over the years too. But it's ultimately, I guess, kind of like the dog whistle. You know, only the dogs can hear it or whatever. It's kind of, there's like a Jeep whistle, and if you find that to be something attractive, then no one has to convince you, no one has to tell you. But when you're outside of that and you haven't heard the Jeep whistle, then it's a different experience. But you don't see yourself trading in your truck for a Jeep.
No, I wouldn't want a Jeep as a daily driver, I guess is what I say. But I do see the fun in them. I do see the, you know, an enjoyment of having a Jeep. Yeah.
And that's another good point too, is that it's just so funny because this is a 6-speed, and it's not practical for me to drive to work. I mean, there's a lot of traffic in Nashville. I'm going to be starting, stopping on the interstate, on all the roads. But yet you look in Nashville, and I promise you, it's like 1 out of every 4 or 5 cars is in the Jeep. So if you're going to be doing the Jeep Wave, you got to be ready. You know, is this, how many people's in the car? Oh, there's 1. Okay, 1. No, 2. Okay. Oh, they have a Prius. Okay, nothing. You know, just like the shirt says. So that's how, and maybe that's the demographics of Nashville, is that it attracts people who, if you're the kind of person who would move to Nashville, you're the kind of person who would end up having a Jeep. I'm sure there's some kind of demographic connection there in a Venn diagram. So you got more to add to that. You know what to do. It goes right here.